All right.
Yo.
Are we doing this, guys? Are we getting this party started? Sounds like we're getting this party started. Welcome one, welcome all to episode 64 of the None of Our Business podcast. We are your hosts, Philly Fanatic, P Steezy, P Money, Silent Tempo, Sane, Philanthropy, Philosophy. We got Philip Lanos. We got CNN Dunkaroos, C Notice, C9, C3PO, C4, see your way out of your section 9. We got Keaton Duncan. Today we have a very special guest. Zinga. Jayson Valencia.
Okay. Yeah. What's up, y'all? Shit,
And I'm Joe.
That's a good ass intro. Damn.
It's what we do, man. You know, we just
Off the cuff.
You know, it's funny because we started this pretty casual as opposed to how we usually started.
Yeah.
Well, we got it all out of the way yesterday.
Oh, we did get it all out of the way. There
That's
was a
good.
lot of tension and a lot of energy that we were like, oh, but it's not going to take away from your episode because you know we love you.
Oh, well,
That's
you know,
what he says to all. Well, that's what he used to say to all the girls before. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
He'll say it to the guys too.
I
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, you're living in 2020 now. You know what I mean?
Right?
Shit.
It's a whole new
Sometimes
world.
that's my own challenge. I ain't doing the broom challenge. I'm doing the who do I like challenge
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, I just gotta.
John Stamos.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
no, you,
Was I thinking out
we
loud?
weren't there. We weren't there. Welcome, Jay.
JSLV himself.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The
Thank
man
you
with
for
the master
bringing me
plan.
on, man.
How do you know these
The
guys?
entrepreneur extraordinaire, dude.
Man, it's been a journey. You know, I think I've met everyone in different parts
Yeah,
of my
yeah, yeah.
life. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah,
and then in different places as
You
well.
met Joe before you met me, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
But what's weird is that I went to school with your brother. I mean, I was in an older year, but I went to school with your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freaking crazy.
You know, my brother actually knows a lot of people that I know, and then they know him, and they're like, "Oh shit, I didn't know I know your brother. I know you guys
Yeah,
are brothers."
Yeah,
Even recently, you know, we're part of the same like art collective love crew, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
some
yeah.
people,
I've seen it
some
everywhere.
people like look, you know, talk to him, and then they're like, "Oh shit, okay, I didn't know that."
That's-
was,
that's-
oh, that was your brother. And, you know, and it's cool. Just and that's kind of like what I think is also very important, you know. And then I met you
Mm-hmm.
through
It was
you know,
collabo,
through
huh? Yeah.
through
Collabo.
Andrew, yeah, through Prismadelic and all in
Yeah.
the collabo, and then it just like another day I was talking to Joe, and Joe was just like, "Wait, do you know?" I was like, "Yeah, man." I was just like, "Oh, perfect," you know, what I'm saying? And I already know Phil,
Everybody
so
knows
it's
everybody,
yeah.
man.
So it goes to show like how small the world really is.
Yeah.
You know?
LA is particularly small once you start getting up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even within your circle though, your circle has circles.
mhm.
Yeah.
You know, like
Whoa, whoa,
we're
whoa,
a circle,
wait
but
a
you have a
minute.
circle that's associated with him through a different thing.
Mhm.
Same with you and
Yeah.
I. Like I've known Jason for like 20 years.
Whoa.
Damn near, yeah.
No
Easy.
shit.
Like,
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
back
easy.
since, like,
To
before high school?
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
high school, back
Oh.
high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
That's
He
a
actually,
trip.
he
Yeah, but you
actually
didn't go
knew
to
my
uni.
brother, and he knows my older brother. You know
Paul?
Paul, right?
Paul?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's like a
And-
trip.
Wow.
And he knows Alvaro Tweaks.
You mean we're
yeah,
closer
you know,
than
they
I
were
even
doing music.
thought?
Yeah, and they were doing music, and then at that time, I was doing a brand with my other boy Pancho called
Yeah.
Skills.
Skills.
And then
oh,
we
I
used to-
remember that
Yeah,
shirt.
we used to
Yeah.
kick him down like gear
Yeah,
and all
gear
that.
when
So
we
you know,
perform and shit.
yeah. So it's like I mean,
kinda-
you know, it's been years now. I'm still doing the same thing. So I think it's important to chase that passion, you know, and then really just keep that flame lit. So that's
Yeah.
like when I met him, and then you know, and then through Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew's connected with my brother,
Yeah.
and then he's been
Mhm.
a very like you know, I would say he's a mentor to a lot of people, not only his kid, but you know,
Right.
it's like to his friends and his circle. You're
Of
talking about
course.
circles.
Yeah.
And I think like I was gravitated to that, and I
Yeah.
always saw that passion in him. And then that's what, you know, brought me on to the rest of the crew as well. And then when we go and we hang out there, it's just like it's a whole nother
Oh,
world
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Every time we
you
do
know?
a jam session, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though it feels like it's like, you know, everywhere I go now, I feel like I've been really trying to like attach myself to these people that have that same type of energy. So I leave a place
Positive,
charged,
yeah.
and not like drained. because I think we internally like have so much going on in our own brain,
Yeah.
that's just like constantly challenging yourself, or maybe doubting yourself, or telling you you're doing good, like
Telling
all that,
me,
right?
Man, doubts is huge.
And you get to a place where you're just like, you don't want to be there no more, right? Like,
Right.
And if you don't have the right people around you to really become a pillar for your next kind of like level of grounding yourself, or take you out of this place where you feel like you're drowning, it's hard. So
It's definitely hard. Yeah.
so that's kind of why I said to come and chop it up, because I mean, all you guys are, you've all been
Good
part of
energy,
like
yeah.
my pages in my story, and it'd be good to talk a little bit about other
Absolutely.
things that we
See,
might not know.
the thing, it's funny that you say that you talk about other people and seeing them as like, wise people or mentors towards other people, because you have been a very admirable person. Like, I've always looked up to you like, damn, Jason's doing it. He's doing his thing. He's successful at what he does. And I'm sure you have a lot of faults, and I'm sure you have a lot of failures, and then you kind of bounce back. But a lot of people don't see that, because you just continue to push and
Absolutely.
find something else and find something new. And I've always found that admirable. Like when you started Skills, and then when you did JSLV, and then I heard about Love Crew, and I'm like, dude, he's always like evolving. He's always trying to do something new and something different. So, and I assume it's because you're trying not to stay stagnant. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
and,
super dope.
and stay, my thing has always been as well, like, I had people around when I was growing up, but it was mainly like cousins, right? Those are the people I looked up to.
Right.
I couldn't say I had like a hero or like a musician or an artist.
Did you have like a background of like family that were entrepreneurial, or were you the first one?
No,
in your
I
family?
was, honestly, like looking back at it, no, like I didn't have anybody that had really created a business or had chased like something in that realm of art.
So you're that dude in your family.
Yeah, like one of the first, like, guys to do that. I mean, after that, my uncle started his own business, and and my cousin that kind of actually
Starts
helped me.
becoming possible.
You were the catalyst.
It's wild, man. And I don't know, like you said, like I'm very blinded, right? Like I just kind of like follow my
Tunnel
own kind of
vision,
like
yeah.
So I wouldn't, unless they tell me, when like my friends or family tell me like that, maybe I have inspired them to do something, or they seen something in me, or they have questions and I give them stuff,
Right.
ideas. Is I tell them, I was like, look, man, like I'm still learning this. I'm 38 years old right now, right? And I'm still learning life, and like that actually keeps me happy. That's one of the things that keeps me happy, knowing that like I'm at this level. I found kind of like how to control my sanity and insanity, right? Like levels, and then to know that we have these kind of capabilities now to like have these podcasts and these conversations and record like these memorable moments, right? That one day we're gonna pass, no matter how we look at it. But that we get to help, like when people hear this, and like maybe like someone hears this podcast or hears what we're saying, then they can relate with that. I think that's what I enjoy doing for like the world, and that's what I've always done. Like, so when I had Skills, that was like we were a bunch of punk rock kids, going to backyard shows, and the punk rock scene wasn't really like what we wanted to put product into.
Right.
We were more following like the hip hop elements. That's what was hot. We were like, all right, the 4 elements of hip hop. And someone was like 5. Like, what about beatboxing? And we are like, well, fuck it, skills, fool. That's what and that's what the whole thing was. You hearing lyrics, I was like, skills pays the bills and all this shit. And it was like, all right, let's run this. And I started that with my boy, and we had a friend that was working on Melrose at Workman's Outlet, which was like the prime location for hip hop, like urban wear or street wear or just like just street shit.
Yeah,
like,
if you have some shit on Melrose, it's like
and we did that, and then eventually we started getting more shops to carry the gear, right? And that was like the first time for me to like feel like I was doing something like for myself, and it was exciting. Like I could say like I was maybe like 20, 21 or something like that. Like it was probably like
an identity thing started to form.
I was like, fuck, like yo, like we could do this. Like it's like this is sick. Like, and then we had a friend that interviewed us, and she was working with like a nonprofit organization, and then that came out like on TV, like where it was like Channel 28 style stuff, you know,
some PBS
and that fueled us. Yeah. And that fueled us, you know, because I mean, you're younger and you're thinking like, damn, we're making gear and like people are rocking it. And like, we get to, you know, hook up our friends with clothes. Like our friends are DJs and we just made this shirt that says DJs have 12 inches, like, you know, and like all this shit. So like, it was like fun, you know, exactly. Like,
hey, do you still have that graphic, dude? That's
I think I still do. It's probably like on the old zip disc and shit. Like we'd have to find like the
I want to feature that. Dude.
Yeah, but you know, it's like so that was like the first. I would say like my early 20s was like the first time like business I think like came into my life. I didn't really think of it as business, and when I did start thinking about business, it kind of created like a clash with my partner, my boy Pancho, because we were best friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We still are good friends. But what I'm saying,
the art.
Yeah, it was like, you know, it was hard because I was coming with a certain part of the brand, and he was coming with a certain part of the company, and we were just kids, man. We're just happy having a clothing company.
Right.
We're like, we have a clothing company, you know, and then
dream come true.
Yeah, and then after that, so then I went to school for graphic design, and then I was like, fuck it, like this is what I'm gonna do. I started with electronics, and the story is like essentially I'm gonna keep it kind of short, right? But I went to school for
keep it as long as you want.
Yeah, I was no, because you know I get caught up in my own shit sometimes, and then I just start going down memory lane. Yeah, no, there I went. No, right?
So
like
graphic design.
So I was doing graphic design, but initially I had started going to school for electronics, because that's what I wanted to do.
Like electronic little like repairs
yeah, all that. Like mainly the classes were gonna teach me everything to fix your phone, to fix a VCR, to fix. I mean, these are the things that were around.
Welding
at the
shit
time,
together,
right?
all that.
Yeah, all that. So then I did like a year of that. I was doing pretty good, and one of my homies stopped by, was walking down the hall carrying a skateboard, and I remember he looked at me and he was like, "Yo, what's up?" And as I came outside. And I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm taking these classes over here. You know, all I do is draw all day. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm already doodling my shit in this class, right? And, you know, I wasn't a college kid. So the cousin I was telling you that put me on to college, he went to college, university, all that shit. He graduated.
So he encouraged it.
He encouraged me. He was the dude, you know? My parents were just telling me, like, you know, like every parent, like, you know, they might not gone to school, but they're telling you go to school, because it's probably what all the parents were saying at that time. Yeah. You know, they want me to be better. I get it. You know, as I get older now, I get it. But so I went, my cousin put me on. He helped me fucking fill out all the paperwork. I was very intimidated, you know what I mean? Like going to college or anything. So I started going. I was like, fuck it. This is where I'm at. Before I went to school there, I tried to go into ITT Tech, right? Which is like the school, that was the school of doing that.
ITT Tech, I remember that.
Yep, they had commercials and shit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
The first scam.
I should have known, right? I should have known. Nah, so they had commercials, so it's high price, you know? They probably had to pay for those commercials and shit. So then I was like, all right, this ain't gonna work. And then my dad went and did the walkthrough with me, which was cool, you know? He was being supportive. And then I came back and I was like, told my cousin, I was like, yo, this shit's too expensive. He's like, well, why don't you go to this? And then blah, blah. And he helped me fill out the shit. I filled it out, went to school, was doing good till my homie rolls up on the skateboard, points at me and goes, what's up? And then he goes, I'm drawing. And I'm fucking intrigued by what he just told me, which is usually what happens to me. I'm very, I lose my train of thought. Like, you know, I get distracted very easily. Hyperactive kid, you know what I mean? Always looking for the coolest shit to do and have fun.
ADD is actually pretty aligned with entrepreneurialism, but we'll get back to that.
Well, I got ADD, A, B, C, D, E, N, F, G, you know, so I got all that shit. All the letters, I think I've had them. So I fucking, yeah, so I took not his advice. I took his opinion. He's like, yeah, all I do is draw. I told my teacher, hey, yo, I think I'm going to fucking change like my route on this. And I'm going to go take these visual communication classes over here on the other side of this building. He's like, are you sure, man? You're doing pretty good. And I was like, nah, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So then my teacher goes, well, you know, you could always take that, come back and take this. And you could always work with like designing robotronics and all this. And I was like, all right, that was like some new shit that, you know, all I knew about that was
flip it, right?
Yeah, you know, so very positive, right? So then I figured, all right. So I went, I did that, and I finished school. And when I finished school, then I ended up getting a job at Starbucks. So I worked at Starbucks for about a year.
When it was new, right?
When it was new,
Starbucks just came
it was
out.
popping. Yeah, there was maybe like only 10. Like, you know what I mean? And then so through that, through my time of like going to college and working at Starbucks was when I had skills. So one of the ways that I was promoting like my product, right, like that we were creating, is through the Starbucks. Like I'd have a hat there. We made these sweatband like watches. So I'd go to downtown and buy like 10 watches. Well, I'd buy like 15 so I get a better deal.
Right.
You know, you work your way up. How much is the watch? They're like $15. And I'm like, pero si compro 12, ¿cuánto? It's like $15. And then you get them down to 10, you know, and you're like, all right. So I'm spending like $100 to buy like 10 watches.
Right.
And then I'm getting these sweatbands and I'm taking the watches off and I'm putting them on these sweatbands. So it was like this new punk rock kind of like fashion statement. And I was selling them things for like 20. So it was costing me like $12 to make, and I saw the profit margin and all that. And I was like, yeah. So as a young entrepreneur, right, that was fun. You were creating something.
It's a new hustle.
And you were selling it. And you know, and there was a different kind of hustles coming from the hood. You know, I grew up in Mid City. You know, essentially I was in Koreatown, then I moved to Mid City, and there's different kind of hustles. You know, growing up, and for me, that other street hustle wasn't really for me. You know, I was that just wasn't my vibe. You know,
right? Getting involved in all
it just wasn't. You know, I liked it because it was like hard. It was like it showed a lot of you know, potential and like self, you know, you felt like you own shit. You were like, I'm a boss.
Don't fuck with me.
You know, that attitude, right? But like, I don't know. It's just something about like all the shit you had to go through.
Yeah.
Was like, nah, I don't know, man. Like it's like a lot of shit. So then when I started making like some type of money, right, to sustain.
So it's a positive shit.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this shit's tight. Like I get to just create some cool shit, and then people are actually buying it. Like, okay, cool. Like, you know, and so that was like the first dose that I had. So then working at Starbucks, I met a guy that was a graphic designer for a skate company called Flip Skateboards. And
Flip,
so at the time he used to come in all the time, and I'd be like, yo, hey, I just submitted these resumes online. I think it was like monster.com or something.
Okay, yeah.
You know, this is like back in the, this is like when before LinkedIn and all this other shit that's around now, you know.
It literally had a monster as a logo.
Yeah. So like, you know, and this dates me, but like that was the shit like that was going on at that time. So I'm submitting this resume, and then this guy comes in, and then I told him, I was like, hey, yo, I'm a graphic designer. Like I have my business card. Like when I would work, I got in trouble for this. I actually got like a 2-day suspension for this, but I would get there and the manager had his business cards by my register, you know?
Right.
But when I would show up, since I was like, yo, this is I took the hood mentality. Yeah, I took the hood mentality, and it wasn't my block, but this is my area. I'm controlling this area right now, right? Yeah. So I would put my business card and I would put my merchandise under my register. So when people came that I interacted with, and I'd be like, oh, yo, I do this brand, blah, blah, blah. And I'd show them a sweatband, a hat, and a beanie, right? All at the same time. And if they were interested, like, yeah, I'll make you coffee right now, and then just come back. And out of those 5 people, right, maybe like in the whole weekend, maybe 2 or 3 people bought something or became my friends, right?
Not bad.
That's
and
sick.
It was cool because it like, again, that was my way of encouraging myself.
Yeah.
And I've always been that type of person.
You gotta bend
the
rules a little.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I got in trouble for that shit and I learned. But there was a lot of learning through those areas.
It's education.
Yeah. And that is really what I tell people now, man. Like, it's like, if you want to do something, you have to just do it, man.
Just do it.
You're like, literally. And that is actually what created the name later for this thing. And we'll go into it. So I would say, you know, skills was the first thing. And then when I met this guy, me and him became homies. He'd come in, I get him his coffee, hook him up with a scone. And then he was just like, yo, they're looking for a graphic designer. Do you wanna, you know, try out and send a, you know, the resume and show your portfolio. I mean, I had just came out of college, so my portfolio, I had like the suitcase with all the shit on, like on poster board. I was ready to go. You know, it had no dust. Like it was like, let's do this. And then I went in, I did the presentation. I told them what I'm all about. Then they did a test. They're like, all right, can you get this hat in Photoshop and change the embroidery from blue to red? I banged it out. they were like, okay, cool, you done? It's like, yeah, I was pretty quick at it because while I was going to school, I had met some friend that was already doing like flyer design and all that.
Sick.
So he put me on and he was like, hey, yo, Jay, I got work all the time. You want to help me out? And I remember like, and I'm still homies with him as well. His name's
nice.
Roger. Yeah.
Okay.
He still does graphic design and all that. So like all these people that I have been meeting like in my
Your
whole
network,
lifetime are just like the people that I see like are like my path kind of like,
You grew up
right,
with
right.
them in the
yeah,
game.
they're my guidance kind of like people, you know what I mean? Like they're my pillars of my thing,
Damn.
like, you know, and including this moment, you know what I mean? Because like you guys and we now as a whole are doing that for other people, you know?
Yeah.
You
because-
build bridges with everyone you know. Huh?
yeah, and it's important. Like, you know, I think it's really important to do that. So and who knows what I'm gonna do next. But what I'm saying is, so I did the skills thing, and then I met that guy, worked at
got the job at
so I
Flip?
got the job at Flip. So then they gave me the job. They're like, yo, you out of the 3, like did it pretty quick and you're good, you know, blah, blah. So I was working over there 3 days a week. I started 3 days a week. And then I started working my way up to, you know, the full week. And what I was doing there was just in the beginning was just changing colors of t-shirt graphics. So they would give me a t-shirt graphic and they would say, hey, see what color blank this would look good on. So then I would do like 50 fucking color concepts, you know? I don't do that now, but like that was crazy. Like at that time, like I was
Back in
like,
the
damn,
day,
how the
yeah.
fuck would I even come up with like 50
Yeah.
different concept colors? And then they would have to look at those. And so they were like, yo, slow down.
Slow
you know,
down,
like, we
Blair.
only need 10, like, you know.
You had ambition.
But I was trying to, you know,
Yeah.
I was hyped, you know, and I was trying to make the most out of the 4 or 5
Opportunity,
hours that I
yeah.
had there, you know. First, I was trying to get paid too. I wasn't trying to get laid off real quick, you know. So then, so that led into through Flip. So I worked for Flip Skateboards, and so from that time through that job, right? So I was at that distribution for about 12, 13 years, right? And that distribution was called Bliss Distribution. They had like 7 to 10 different brands, you know,
Brands,
from the
different
time that I
companies,
was
yeah.
there to the time that I left. And
That
through
was
that,
in OC, right?
that was in
Yeah,
Huntington
I
Beach,
remember,
and when that so, you know, brands would come in and brands would leave and things like that because they all had contracts. But I met a lot of people there, and that's where I learned how to develop my design skills into other mediums. So, but what I mean by that is that I learned how to create accessories, right? Wallets, belts, keychains, you know, and then cut and sew, which was like pants.
See, I was going to say,
inside-
did you learn a lot of the operations?
I
Like
did.
being a part of that?
I
You paid
did,
attention,
man.
didn't you?
It was wild, like, you know, and I wanted that, right?
It was another education.
It was, man. Like that was like school outside of school, you know.
And 10,
And
12 years, that's like a master's.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah.
and when you and that's all you're doing every day. Like, you know, we were just talking. It's like, you know, your job becomes your other home. You're spending more hours there.
Right.
So if I count the amount of hours that I was in the office learning, it was wild, you know. So I picked up how to create tech packs, which are like, you know, 5 to 10 pages of a PDF that actually shows what the design is in the first page, and then it goes through all the pages of like where a button will go on a shirt, what size the button's going to be, what color it's going to be sewn with, right?
I mean, the whole
That's
yard.
Everything, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's like your tech pack, right? So it's very technical.
Yeah.
So I was learning like all these things at that time, and usually now looking back at it, I could see why they have different people do the different jobs, because
It
it's-
wasn't good that
That's
you
a
were
lot.
learning everything, was it?
yeah, like it was good because we started the brand like that, right?
Right.
But I burnt myself out because I was doing and trying to do everything. And then by the time we had picked up people to help and all that, it was good, but still there was like this, like, there was a lot of information inside of me that I was trying to understand. And until recently, like not recently, but like a couple years, 5 years ago, whatever, after
Right.
the brand kind of started doing its own thing, was when I really started realize, like taking the time for myself, where I put everything together. And I was like, damn, like this was a lot. Like we were all doing a lot, not just myself, because then I could relate to everyone else that was in the brand, like my partner and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you know?
preach.
So yeah, so JSOV, so Skills was in 2002. JSOV was in 2007, right? So within that, that time I was working at Blitz doing skateboard graphic stuff, accessories, t-shirt stuff, ads. And then we started the brand at Blitz Distribution because an opportunity opened up where they wanted to have an apparel brand and a skate brand. So that's when Skate Mafia and JSLV came to Blitz Distribution.
Nice.
And we were doing that, and that's why, Preebs, which is my partner and good friend, brother of mine, like he was like, yo, this is like, he's doing marketing, and I was doing design. He's like, this is how we're going to do this shit. We're going to have the dudes be sponsored by the brand. And that's how we're going to plug it so that everyone gets to see both brands at the same time. Yeah. And it was, smart. It was like, I would have never thought of that shit. I was just more interested in learning how to create a tech pack. You know what I mean?
Make some
so,
dope shit.
yeah.
Just wanted
so
design.
when we came together, it was like a force, man. It was like the yin and yang, like I saw things that he didn't see and he saw things that I didn't see.
Which is a good partnership.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, when I was getting out of doing the skills thing, trying to get out the hood and saw this opportunity for myself, it fucked with me and my boy's relationship, Pancho, because it was like, yo, well, what do you mean you're like not doing this no more? But I didn't see us growing, anymore. We had already kind of reached to a point where it was just like, I had outgrown that. I was like, skills was cool, but it was still kind of more kiddie to me. I was like, I wanted to outgrow that. So that's when I was like, yo, and we didn't even have a name yet, this was just like even before that. But when we had the name and everything, the first name actually that the brand was going to be called this, we were trying to call it First Class. So we were going to do, the idea was we're going to do first class apparel, first glance eyewear, and then like something around kids where it was like first step, so we had this, but we couldn't do that because the post office and like a bunch of shit that it was like first class couldn't be taken.
Okay.
Wow.
So but we were all learning this whole process, so then we went back to a drawing board and I remember having this cardboard piece of paper. And then I wrote down mad names on that shit. And then I sent them to my boy and we looked at them and I was like, yo, like, which one do you think? Blah, blah. And then we're like,
going back to what happened with your homie, isn't it a thing where like, as you start to grow and you grow further along, some people stop growing and it's like, you can't force them to grow with you and you start growing apart because of that. That's essentially what happened, right?
Yeah. And it sucks, man, because look, it doesn't make, I think, anyone better, right? Like, I don't think.
Right. It's not about better. It's like, it sucks almost.
It does, man. And, I look at this as like a relationship, right? Like all the relationships that I've had with my good friends, sometimes either I pushed myself away or they pushed themselves away or were forced to be pushed away. You know what I mean?
It happens to everyone, bro.
It does. And I think that ultimately that's just part of life, right? Like you can't really control that because when you start controlling that, like in any relationship, you try to control a relationship, it just doesn't work.
Well, you can't grow for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think sometimes taking that break apart like helps you grow for yourself or lets you know why you needed that person maybe to grow. You know what I mean? And vice versa. Like, me and Pancho have conversations now and he's just like, man, like, you've always been pretty good at what you do. And, and I've had, you said a lot of like, faults and stuff. And I've had a lot of failures, and a lot of times I don't really go down that route because I use those to kind of pick me up and be like, I don't want to go down that road again. But like, those things have also helped all of our friendships because as all of us being friends, we get to talk about those things and we say, hey, look, this is experience that I have from this. Here's my advice to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't have to make the same mistake.
Exactly. Yeah. And as we got older, that became easier for all of us. But when we were younger, oh man, it was egos, bro. Like it was like everyone was just like, man, fuck that, dog.
I'm
whatever.
always
like,
winning.
It's like, go do that shit then, and but it was just for a short time, and then we did a lot of stuff together with the brand and he supported it. He still does. And, and all that. And, so we moved on and we started doing, JSLV, which was one of the names that at the end was just like, well, we can't do first class. And we were going down the line. And I was like, yo, what about Just to Live? And we take the T off and the E off and it's like a Just Live. It still sounds good.
Yeah. It does.
And then, and being that we had that issue with the first class thing, I was like, well, fuck it. Like, let me just take this mentality of graffiti and cruise and just create like an acronym or just, and break it down even more. And we'll just take the U off and the I and we'll just be like JSLV. and I'm gonna throw the period because essentially for me it's a statement. It's like just live, period. And he said, yeah, I fuck with it. I like it. Like, all right, let's try it. So he submitted it. It went through, and that's the beginning of that. You know what I mean? And that was roughly 13. It was this month in around 2007. So yeah, this would be what, 2020?
13 years?
Yeah, 13 years.
I still have the 10-year anniversary one that has all the logos on the long sleeve. Yeah, man, that was dope.
Yeah.
I very rarely rock it. I'll rock it like once or twice a year.
You want it in mint
No,
condition?
dude, because it's white.
Yeah, it's white.
So
it's white with the blueprint.
White with the blueprint. Yeah. So if you wear it too often, it's gonna start getting like faded, start getting nasty. I'm like, all right, I rock it. I have a lot of Just Live gear, just so you know.
Yeah.
Like, and what's dope is that you go buy it like anywhere now, and that's amazing to me. Like you can really like I'll be at a store or something, and then I'll see some Just Live shit, and I'd be like, man, that's dope.
A store like Target or something?
Target, Kmart type.
I'm not.
No, Zoomies.
Yeah, active.
But but even with that, right? So that
did those opportunities come up for you to get even more like
JCPenney type shit? Yeah. Well, opportunities were always there. It's just like you gotta know
you gotta
how
control
to,
your brand though.
Once
right?
it's kind of crazy. Like once you go in that route, like you gotta have the right people on your team that talk that language, right, and understand that those moves that you're gonna do. Yeah, because when you go into like those big box stores, let's say, sometimes there's chargebacks. If the things don't have the right labels on them and the right hang tags.
That sounds like
it's a lot.
Exactly what you're talking about.
It's a headache. It's a headache. It's good for brand growth, but
not profitable.
No, it could hurt you in the long run if you make one mistake, even though you're doing it all for the growth. You know what I mean, of a brand and whatnot.
It's a risk.
Yeah. But yeah, we learned a lot, man. Me and my partner and the crew and everyone, man. And honestly, like, so the last few years, it's slowed down, right? It's like taking a break, and it's gonna come back, and it's gonna do something new. You guys,
that's sick.
You guys will see more of that soon.
Are you guys actively looking for new young talent with fresh ideas and shit?
Well, now it's not even
because now you're the OG in the game, like in terms of like setting shit up. You know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing. So this is what I'll get into now. So for me, like 4 or 5 years ago, I took a break from the brand. Like I was telling you, like I had a lot going on in my life.
Sure.
And I took a break, and then I went away from the brand. And ultimately, I know now that, it definitely did hurt the brand. But it was something that I had to do, or else I would have probably fell ill and something would have happened to me. So at that time,
quarter life crises are real.
Yeah, for real.
They really are.
Yeah. And the crew that was working there at the time, they all, my boy Dario and my brother Chris, and we had this homie Mateo helping us out, Chris LeBlanc and a lot of people, man, that were really trying to make it work, because I think they saw the passion in all of our our things, including, my boy Preeb's boy Dunny and DC. He films all the Skate Mafia dudes, and that was like the fam, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like those are like the main people that were like making this shit work, and our dream was just always like, it's like, fuck, we're just doing cool shit, and like we want to see this in the stores, and that was it. That was a thing, but ultimately, man, I think when I took off and then I came back, there wasn't necessarily like I felt like I didn't feel the same about it anymore. Like, and I was like, all right, fuck it. We're moving to San Diego. And that's where we were moving it, and we moved to San Diego, and I did that for about a year.
The whole operation?
The whole operation. Yeah. And it was cool. We tried to make it work again and all that. And I tried to find the drive, and And I tried, man, like, and it just wasn't there.
Felt like you were forcing it.
Yeah, I felt like I was forcing it. There's like times where I was just like, I had a creative block and I couldn't really like create something. I didn't feel like I had the same amount of 10 hours in me like I used to when I was younger and things like that. And
I feel that.
And the crew was pretty good, right? They'd show up, they'd do their jobs and get that shit going. And they're like, all right, cool. But my level that I expect of things like for myself is always a little bit higher. So it kind of fucks with me.
When they don't have the same love for
or their level might be different, or or they're just like, oh, this is just my job. I'm just gonna do this.
It's your baby, not theirs.
And I couldn't be mad at them not doing that because I can't, it's just it's not right.
But it hurts, bro.
It hurts, but it's like the brand had grown so big that it's like it wasn't to that point no more. I mean, we have people skating for us, we have people snowboarding for us and all that, It was a lot, man, when you look back at it. When I look back at it, I'm like, man, it was a lot that we were doing at a time where we were all learning that shit, and it was just like second nature. We were just doing it because
you were learning on the go.
And it was normal. It wasn't like, this is how you do it. This is how you don't do it.
That's all you need.
Like, and everything we would always do, it was like 100%. It was like, oh, right, sick. We're going to do this video. We're going to do it like this. I mean, we went to China and filmed a video before our denim dropped, and we went to the factories and filmed with our boy Amrit. And
I know you guys have gotten into the denim game too.
Yeah, and we put that, and we brought that, and we brought the commercial back, and we released the commercials through Just Active, right? And I think that was like Fuel TV or something at the time. We got spots with that. Wow. And it was wild,
So you didn't have any mentors, or did you have like people in the business who had businesses themselves and told you, hey, this is how you have to do it? Or, I have experience in, making this work, making that work, and then laying it out for you. It was all self-taught, right?
Yeah.
And so there was nobody there that was like, I have these kind of companies backing me. This is how you can be successful in your own business. Like we see out there with books and now YouTube videos and stuff like that. You didn't have any of that.
It's crazy that you bring that shit up, because it's like,
hell, you guys had no one like really telling you how to do it.
Hell no. I mean, the only thing that we had that I will say is the distribution as the foundation, right? Like, they were the ones that would help us ship the stuff out.
With flip skateboards.
Yeah, and then Preebs, my partner, he was a sales rep at the distribution, so we both came together. We were the two fools that clicked, and it was just straight off of like,
that was the key channel.
Yeah, and we both were like, "Yo, what's up?" Like, he's like, "Yo, I got this idea. Like, what you think?" It's like, and then we're like, "Yeah, all right, well, let's go in this fool's office and pitch it."
But you made plenty of mistakes along the way. It's like I think what he said. He's like, because it sounds like it was a straight shot up, but it wasn't just
no, but like, it's crazy because what he's saying is like, when I think about that now, I never even thought about that. But no, I never had
YouTube videos.
I never had no one that I could go to and
I've run into a lot of people who say you should do this. This is how you run a business. You need a business plan. You need LLC. You need these kind of lawyers. You need to talk to these people. This is how, from people who have businesses, some people who don't have businesses. There's a lot of people who I've connected with who tell you how to run a certain way. And in hearing your story, it seems like there is no real concrete Bible of this is how you start from scratch to get to where you are right now.
Yeah. Nah, we didn't have that, which in another way of looking at it might have been why, maybe it would have popped off a lot different if we had that, right? We did have some people around us that were kind of like helping us in certain kind of ways when we did come to certain areas where we're like, yo, we can't do this, or we don't have this much money for this and whatever. But as far as even like factories, like I remember like we would just still be trying to search for the best like person to make hats, or the best person to make button ups, or we didn't have someone for sweatpants.
Like who's operations sounds like it was definitely a thing. But how did you get your paperwork right? You know what I mean? Because like,
most people
are afraid of.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, it's like for us, it was like we were letting people do the paperwork for us, and that's kind of what ended a lot of relationships and a lot of the business ventures that we had with those people, you know. But
because you didn't do it, they like screwed you over.
They essentially, there were just like some shit going on.
Like
it was like, you know, but my partner,
shit,
but like I said, my partner was just like, you know, he was quick to the game with that shit, and then his
like,
boy helped
read,
look at the papers and the numbers and all that. And again, dude, I'm telling you, coming from the hood, right, and like just wanting to design and fucking create, and that's my dream, you know. I'm not thinking about all that shit because I never really had that, like, right? So as I've gotten older and I've gotten wiser with that type of stuff, it's like business is definitely something more that I understand now. Is it something I want to always be involved with? No, but I mean, it's
necessary evil.
Yeah. You know, and it's funny because the podcast name, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, you know, at the end of the day, man, I think ultimately, like, you don't own anything, you know. And now, so when I left, I ended up losing a lot, right? Like, so I left and I lost a lot, morally, spiritually, financially, right? And then then 5 years was really like rebuilding myself and like understanding that it is what it is, but at the same time, I can't just like let it go by like that. Like, it's like I'm not gonna sit here and just rot. Like, it's like I am who I am. The brand is kind of become who it is, right? At that point, if it was a child, like we were talking about, it would have been a 10-year-old kid, you know. At that point, the kid starts developing its own idea of identity and wants to do its own thing, and you know, and parents being the partners and all that, like, it's like, who's he gonna listen to? And, you know, if we're all fighting and we're all doing a bunch of crazy shit, then you're not really gonna get a kid that's gonna be pretty good at whatever it wants to do. So
right.
You know, so I put myself kind of back on a zero level, and I started kind of going down the route of meditation, right? Somebody had told me meditation was good, and you know, a friend of mine was doing a lot of holistic medicine at the time as well, so I practiced some of that, and that was really nice. It kind of started opening me up again.
You opened your whole mind, your whole world.
And I got to release a lot of old feelings and ideas and concepts. And then throughout that, I started picking up more books, and even recently, you know, I've read more books. And there's one thing that I will say is that, like, through the time that I left, like, doing the full 9 to 9 or 9 to whatever it was with the brand,
9 to 9 is real. That's crazy.
And I when I was on that kind of like hiatus, I ended up going to this yoga festival where I met this guy trying to get away, right? And find, like, you know, just sanity and be away, like the city.
Soul searching.
And I'm chilling, man, on this, I'm walking down to my campsite, and I'm helping. So I volunteer at the place to get tickets to go to the place, right?
Right.
Genius.
And then
it's funny because
my friend actually put me on.
You're talking about Firefly, right? Or
no, this was Shakti Fest.
Oh, Shakti.
Yeah, Shakti and Bhakti, yeah.
What's that?
Okay.
So it's a yoga festival in Joshua Tree. Yeah, it's like a 3-day yoga festival. It's like kirtan music, good food, you know, kid zone,
vibes,
conscious people, you know. Yeah.
How much does it cost to get into that?
It's pretty pricey, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, you know, $250 to $300 for like the whole weekend, you know.
But you were fortunate enough to find a volunteer opportunity.
Yeah, you know, my friend put me on that. Like, you know, like so we did that, and so I went, right, and I did the thing, and you know, and I'm there and I'm working and doing this kind of work exchange, and I'm walking to my campsite, and I see this guy coming up the hill, and he's wearing a JSLV shirt, and I'm like, man, and you know, that's when I started kind of tapping in. I was like, man, Jay, no matter what you do, you've created something, right, with friends, obviously, and we've created something that's just now here to stay. So I think it's and I'll get into that a little more, is that I think that's why now I try to really be careful on what I put out and what I create, because I only want to put good because that's what's gonna ripple from here. You know what I mean?
Legacy.
Like, yeah, it's I've learned too much of what hurts to put that back in again and again and again and again, you know? So that being said, I saw that guy. I go, yo, I said, yo, sick shirt, right? And then I keep walking. And he's like, thanks, man. And then I was like, man, I can't end like that. I was like, hey, where'd you get? I was like, where'd you get the shirt at? And he's like, oh, my boy Alden. And then I only know one Alden, and it had to have been him because he worked with us, like, you know. And I'm like, oh, blah blah, like from, you know, Alden from woo woo. And he's just like, yeah, what, you know that fool? It's like, yeah. So he take a picture. I take a picture. I send it to Alden. That not only leads to me meeting a group of people that was then going to take me on Warped Tour for 3 years of my life, which we'll get into in a second. And but it also the following weekend after that, my friends that I sent the picture to, all then they were going on a skate graph like paint trip to San Francisco. So at this time, I was really, like you were saying, it's like soul searching, finding myself, just really journeying again, and just like finding like who I want to be. Like, you know, if I am going to be somebody again or whatever the fuck being is, you know what I mean? Like, so then I went on that trip with them, super magical. I mean, being in Joshua Tree was amazing. Like, I felt like it almost like opened me up again. I was like, you know what, everything's going to be fine. Like, it's all right. Like, you know, what. And then I went, did that trip. And then I came back. I went towards San Diego to Torrey Pines on a hike because a guy, Holic, that I had met on that trip that was part of that group of people, me and him hung out, and he's like, yo, you got to check out this place. It's really cool. So I put it on my things to do. I head out there probably the weekend after I got back from San Francisco. I mean, I was on a roll, like doing these things. It just kept me happy, you know? And then I hit him up and we go on the hike together. We had a good time. And then he takes me to his boy's place, Shane, and he does music. And he has a music studio and all that. And then he had this map in this room. And I was like, yo, what is this? And he had that shit. Like, it looked like one of those, like, it's just like the little planes moving from the thing, you know? And then I was like, what is this? He's like, oh, yeah, that's our tour that we do. I'm like, tour? I was like, what's popping? Like, you know? So I'm just like, almost like, I don't want to go back to life. Like, I just want to like
what's the next move?
Yeah, what's the next move, right? And I'm also on this like spiritual kick, right? So I'm like, oh, this is what brought me here. Like, you know what I mean?
It's all
exactly. Like, and that shit could be interesting too. If you believe that shit, man, you gotta be careful. You gotta know when to pull yourself out of that bitch, you know? But so then I'm there, right? And then and I get to the spot and I tell him, he's like, oh yeah, that's a tour we do. It's called Warped Tour. And I was like, oh shit, the Vans Warped Tour? He's like, yeah, you know about it? He's like, yeah, I know a little bit about it. I know some of the bands and shit, whatever. And then I tell him, I was like, yo, well, if you need some help, man, like, you know, let me know. And I don't know if he took that shit serious, but then I hit him up a couple days later when I got back. He's like, hey, yo, like, I just following up, you know? He's like, damn, okay. Like, this kid's for real, you know? He's like, well, what can you bring to the table, you know? And I'm like, well, you know, I paint and I could do live painting and, you know, I break dance a little bit, you know? And I could do a little bit of that and, you know, whatever. And he's like, all right, cool. Fuck it. And he gives me the dates. I put that shit on my calendar and I'm like, all right. And that was the first year of that, man. And those 3 years could probably be like its own podcast, like straight up. But I will leave it at this. Like, that was a teaching, man, a learning experience for all of us, which is what brought me back to Joe, because I was in Nashville in the third year, which is the last year. And the last year that I did it was actually the last year that they were doing Warped Tour. They were going to stop Warped Tour and then they were going to like,
that's
yo,
crazy,
done,
man.
right?
Yeah.
So I go, fuck it. I've done this shit 2 years already. I'll do it the third year. It's going to be the last one. Let's go. Different people every time I've been on tour, right? Doing the same thing, but obviously with a different mindset because I have all the experience that I have from doing each state. You know, it's anywhere from 35 to 38 states that we hit in about a month and a half, 2 months, you know, of traveling. Yeah. And so this last year, third way into the tour, we're leaving Lawrence, Kansas after that show, which we had an amazing show. we set up proper. We had like an area where we were doing tie dyeing with my boy Aaron and Noah, and then we had like an area where our boy Artson had like his native, booth, and the center was like the stage, and then we had like further to the left there was a fence, so we had put like this like big thing where we were painting live. So it was like the most like energy we attracted to our area because we were a side stage. Our stage was called the Transform stage, and I like send out a text after the show, and I was like, hey, we need it, because I was one of kind of the producers with my boy Shane. Like he had given me the title. He's like, yo, you're gonna like hold down the art stuff and all this. So I always took an initiative to try to like get group meetings after good shows and things like that. So I was like, yo, let's have a meeting. This shit was a good one. We need to let everybody know this is how it needs to be every time, and this like hype them up, right? We're all tired, whatever, and we had to hop in the bus and get ready to dip to the next spot. So he's like, we'll just do it tomorrow. I was like, all right. I was kind of bummed because I was like, fuck, I got the energy now. Like, let's get it. Let's get it in,
Yeah.
So whatever, we hop in the bus and everybody leaves. And that day we had brought someone, because before that we were in Colorado. We had brought a friend that he knew on a bicycle. He threw his bike in there and everything. Crazy. And he was traveling from, I think, from Boston to Vancouver. So he was going coast to coast on a bicycle. Yeah. So he cheated with us giving him the ride. So if you're hearing this, man, you cheated.
Just a couple of miles out.
Yeah. So whatever. So we gave him a ride and shit. Yeah, the homie, he's super cool, homie. And then and we're like, all right, cool. So he got off the bus that day, and that's the day he dipped out, right? We get in the bus, we stop, we gas up. We get in the bus and we dip, we pay up a toll, We're like, I remember I was laying in the little bunk. And everyone's like, yo, what's coming up? A toll, It's like, yeah, don't trip. Like, because everybody, some homies had a little bit of like, they had their like CBD pens or THC pens, whatever, fuck. And, we'd freak out when we had like certain areas we had to pass, And so we're like, nah, man, don't trip. It's just a toll. So we paid the toll. We passed the toll. Maybe 10, 15 minutes after the toll, I'm like laying down on my bunk and I just hear a boom, right? Like, and it was like a dream, bro. Like, it's like, I guess somebody hit us from the back, right?
Damn.
And I'm like looking down, like in slow-mo, and everyone's just kind of like moving. I see my boy Malik kind of like swaying and shit. And I'm like, what? And then out of nowhere, you just hear a big ass boom. And our boys that were behind us, because we were caravanning with the actual van and behind us, they said they saw a guy smashing like 100 miles per hour, right? Like, whoa. Oh, wow. And then they saw like the car like hit something. And they're like, oh, damn, it must be that car. They didn't realize that the guy had slammed into us and made us swerve. Then we hit the center divider, flipped over the cannon
your whole bus?
Times. Yeah, the whole bus 3 times. Where all of us like essentially like we're fucking getting tossed around in this bus, right? I end up being the last guy that they bring out of the bus. And I remember just tripping out because my boy ran up to me and was just like, oh my God, like he was so happy, like I was alive, I guess, and shit, And I'm like, where's everybody at? And I'm like, and he's like, everyone's all right, bro. Like everyone's over there on the side. Like, come on, Jay. Like, just what? Like, I had like no shoes on because I was getting ready to just go to sleep. It's actually on the phone with someone, and
damn,
that person heard the whole. She heard the whole conversation. It was wild. Which adds to the story, and it's a trip, right, for me, because when I talk about it, and then coming out of that and seeing everybody alive, for me at that moment, and since then, I try to not take life too seriously, but at the same time, I try to take life as like. I still don't know if like maybe I did die, and this is not really right. I mean, because you guys are here, and you guys would essentially be in my thoughts anyway, and maybe I am doing this. So it's another reason why I like to be very transparent now more than ever of information and stuff. Like, so if somebody wanted to ask me something, I'm just gonna give them the real information and not like bullshit information. Which I might have given like when I was 20 and shit, like just to get by. But now I think it's more important because I was like, to survive all those things and to go through all those things and to know that we all survived. And those conversations that we had even in the bus and after that was, there's a reason for all of us to still be alive. You know, I mean, one of the guys, the driver, he was going to have a kid like in September, you know, so he took a flight home immediately after that. And then we were stuck in Kansas for a while. We had a lot of things that went on even there, like that were crazy, sketchy and all that. But that next place that we skipped a couple, and then we were going to end up as Nashville. And that's when the 4 or 5 of us that decided like, yo, we're going to keep going. We're like, fuck it. Like, we're hurting a little bit, but we're here. Let's keep doing this. And that's when I met up with Joe.
We met up.
Fortuitous. Crazy.
And he met us at the first show that we did after the accident. So that was like my first week of like, you know,
getting back into it.
Yeah, you know, and I mean,
in Nashville.
And I mean, that goes back to this whole vibe of like what I think I'm essentially about. Like, you know, it's just like the skills thing was part of my phase. The just live thing is obviously part of my phase. The love stuff is part of my phase, you know? And I think that we embody everything that we're supposed to be doing while we're here. So I think there's more that I'm supposed to be doing, or I will do. Right. And if there isn't, then it's all good. But I'm super grateful for, you know what I mean? Like being able to experience all those feelings and all those emotions and all that, you know, information that.
It's a hell of a fucking journey, man.
You know what's dope about that story is that we have a shop in Nashville, and I saw that he was going to be out there. I'm like, yo, I hit him up. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be out here. I'm out here working. I've been here for a month hanging out. And he's like, yeah, I'm coming. He's like, yo, I'll see you. If you want to come to the show, you come out. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll come out. Sure. Hell yeah. I got out there. We're, you know, I'm hanging out with him, and the energy, you know, it was the first show that they had done since that accident, and you could feel that energy. Like,
yeah, it even rained. It even started raining that day.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I was hanging out there a little bit. I think it was almost the end of it was almost the end, because you guys wrapped up early on that one. And I left. I was like, yeah, whatever you guys do, just let me know. I'll come hang out with y'all. And we met at a bar, and I was like, damn, this is crazy, dude. It's just 2 dudes fucking from mid-city hanging out.
What are the odds?
Like, you know, we're kids that kind of just made it. We made it.
Yeah.
And now we're like 2,000 miles away, 2,500 miles away. And it happens to be that he comes by, and I'm like, yo, maybe you just needed a little bit of home so that you continue to push, you know, or a face that you can just like know, like, oh, all right, yeah, this is cool. I remember just being in that bar with him.
Because I remember you sent me a photo, and you were like, guess who I just ran into? I was like, hey, small world.
Yeah.
But like, so now that I know the whole backstory, like, what the fuck?
Well, you know, and that kind of pushed me for a lot of different things that I do. You know, I feel like, you know, I push myself a lot, and I've been pushing myself a little bit too much. I need to like chill for a little bit, you know. But I think it's important for you to know that like you do have a purpose, right? Like mainly it's like you have a purpose, like, and the purpose is whatever you want to make that purpose. Because, you know, if I look back at like all the things that I have tried or created or done, and then like whether they failed or they didn't, like we made them. So that was created. Like it doesn't even matter, right? You know. So it's empowering. I think is like one of the biggest things that I think that's important. And, you know, I want to get more into that, where it's like maybe doing more things with kids, and, you know, teaching them how to do art, and you know, dope. Because
like a nonprofit.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Again,
I
like
want to make a little bit of money.
No, I mean, I don't know too much about creating a nonprofit.
Right.
So yeah, if there's any listeners that want to, you know, fucking give me some insight.
I have a couple of homies that could probably help you with the 501(c)(3) shit.
And mainly like that's what it comes down to me. Like one thing that I've learned is like having people that know how to do that, maybe kicking down some loot and have them help with that, etc. You know, because with like what Kay's saying, like it's like, you know, I think it's I didn't really have that, right? Like I didn't really have like
Keenan,
yeah. Oh my bad, yeah. I'm
so to see, no, yeah. I know.
Oh yeah, I'm just, you know,
it's an Irish spelling.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah. See what's C saying? That, you know, it's
about not
like,
having mentors. And
yeah, and I think it's important. It's important to have that, you know. if you can become someone that you didn't have, then you really start changing the future, you know. And a lot of us, we do a lot of these things for ourselves, obviously, because we have to survive and all that, you know. And I think it's important, but in order for our like our family and our world and, you know, what we're doing to thrive in the future, is I think if we put that into the youth now, they'll have the ability to really kind of like see what they enjoy and nurture that on their own, you know. I mean, a lot of us are learning this like a lot later in our years, which is cool, you know what I mean. Some of us have kids, you know, and some of us don't have kids and maybe want kids or things like that. But I think that's kind of the thing, is like, I feel like at my age, like, it's like I already know what I've accomplished. I'm satisfied, I'm happy, I'm content, you know. But how can I keep that going, you know? It's
how
like,
you can
like
feed that ambition,
like if I just chill and do art and like, yeah, it's cool, but like, it's like, okay, I sell a couple pieces, like, you know, that's cool, somebody has a piece there, but it's like, I want to like let other people be able to do this as well, you know? And I think that's where it's at. Like for me, you know, like
100%.
I'm not necessarily looking to start another business or that type of stuff. But if I could start something like in an organization,
low key life guru, like you're really about the life experience, and then how you can kind of teach people to also live that life. Like you said, you want to figure out, you do have meaning in your life, but you have to figure out what that meaning is. Everyone has meaning. And I fuck with that.
There's definitely something to say about every mentor I've ever had. The reason why they wanted to be my mentor is because they say that at a certain point, you can only grow so much without having to, like, if you don't move into teaching someone else, your growth is going to cap. And so you keep talking about these ideas of legacy and about giving back. So you're just at the place now in your life where giving back is the only way forward.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what plants do, man. And I think if we don't like, honestly, if we don't like pull our weeds out on our own, and, you know, no one's gonna do it for us, and if we don't replant ourselves, or if we don't feel like we are growing, like, I mean, it's just like, we're like plants, but we're not. We get to move, right? Like, it's like, if I don't like where I'm at right now in my life, I get to move somewhere. I get to travel somewhere. I get to go get nutrients from another place and absorb that different type of sun and that different type of energy and the culture there, the people, you know, and I bring it back. And I feel like every time I travel and I come back, I appreciate LA like more, right? Although, like,
you've been to Japan, you brought some homies from Japan to a collabo once, right? Like,
I
trip out, like you've gone to
you're right.
I remember
you're right. That was cool.
Yeah. All of them, they were super chill.
Damn,
man.
That's wild.
I forget. Like, so while you were going on tour and shit, you were coming back to LA, and you would come just hang out with Collabo and all that shit. Like,
well, I came once. I came once.
You just so happened to coincide.
Yeah, that one time it worked out. Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
But, you know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, I feel like life is what you make of it, right? Like, it's like I've been in like some fucking crazy situations where I'm like, man, how am I gonna get out of this one? Like, or why did I get myself into this? Like, you know, and ultimately each one, man, like each one, like, I always give gratitude to everything, man, like the goods, the bads, like, you know, and it's crazy because when I was in Nashville at that time too, either it was before he showed up or after, man, I had a crazy breakdown, like, because I was like, I'm alive, like, hold on, like, you know, and
hit you later.
It like, you know, and then like, even when I got back to home, you know, like,
couldn't believe it.
Like, I told my parents like briefly, and then they didn't know how serious the shit was. And then I kind of like, and they were mad at me because I didn't tell them, you know. And then in my head, I'm like, you know, Latino parents get mad at everything, you know.
If you tell them, if you don't tell them.
Yeah. And then I was like,
never proud of you.
Yeah. And it's like, I was like, yo, but I'm alive, like, you know. And then that shit fucked with me for a while because they were just like all like angry and shit. And then, and then I was just like, man, like, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing else matters. Like, I'm here, you know, and yeah, man, like, it's crazy, man. Life is a wild trip.
Yeah,
you
man.
know? Yeah.
It sounds like yours in particular has been one hell of a fucking ride so far.
Yeah,
it's only getting started, bro. It's
I know.
Only getting started.
I know, man. And then, you know, one thing I also tell myself, it could always be worse, you know. It could always be worse. So when I
You
get
could have
into
never had
Yeah.
a clothing brand and all that.
Oh yeah. Then I
Yeah.
think all these things were not only a reminder for me, but a reminder for everybody else. You know, I mean, I think why the brand did what it did with people resonating with it was because it was just live. It was a very positive message.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with love. You know, love is the universal message, language, feeling, vibration. I mean, we all came to
Makes
this
the world
world.
go
Yeah.
round, man.
I mean, we were conceived through love, whether it was accidental love or
Sure.
drunken love, or you know, it all had
But
that
it's all
feeling.
love.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think you know, recently I've been doing like more of the like love yourself type stuff. You know, I feel like that's super important because until you
Yeah.
really start loving yourself, like man, you're just gonna fuck everyone.
I mean, I
up.
love myself every night, but that's probably not what you're talking about.
No, but it's
That's
really,
a good love. That's good.
Hey,
love.
It's
man.
easy to say that you love
It's a
yourself.
passionate love.
It's easy to say it, but to really, really, because like if I were to talk to other people like you guys or other friends or other
Mhm.
family, the way I talk to myself, we wouldn't be close for very long because I'm like I don't know how your inner voice is, but it sounds like you've been working on it. But my shit is like cruel.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's and it's not always. I've caught myself now. I'm
Mhm.
finding moments where I kind of just look at myself and I'm kind of like, you got to accept your humanity
Yeah.
sometimes. You know what I mean? And
Or talk to people that can listen to you.
like psychologists and therapists.
No, just I mean,
No,
shit.
just
I mean,
people
those
in
people,
general.
yeah, those people were good too. You know, like I mean, I've had a couple of therapists like that I went to,
Yeah.
and then I was like, I mean, the therapist told me, he's like, hey man, like you know, like I think you're good, man. Like you could probably be a therapist. And I was
Matter
like,
of fact, you helped me with my life.
Like I'm having a couple of issues internally.
Nah, man, but
my marriage is kind of
Oh,
shit, and I want to
shit.
see
You
what
were
you
like,
know.
oh, shit, it's all love.
Because I was talking to them about like doing art for The Office, you know. I was like, yo, you guys want art for
Nice.
The Office? And then they're like, they saw that like I was just like I was finding ways to
Cope with it. Yeah.
express and release, like,
Channel.
you know, and I think that's really so that felt really good. But yeah, no, I think what you're saying is like, yeah, I got a lot of dark shit I could talk about, right? Like, and it's just like, I mean, if the world, right, like if we were on the mic and like if the world was ready to listen to all that and not judge anyone,
Right.
it would be 100% okay. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm transparent to the point where it's just like I'm only gonna put out what people can understand as well, you know, and that's true to myself. Because
Sure.
I could talk about a lot of fucked up shit, which will
Right.
relate, but that goes a whole nother down another
Sure,
path,
sure,
you know.
sure,
And I think that when you have someone that can listen to you, and that goes back to relationships and business partners and things like that, when you have someone that can like love you for who you are completely, the good, the dark, and all that, because everyone's like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone got the dark and the light side. Even if they don't talk about it, they've thought about some crazy shit. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I think that's ultimately why I really believe we're all just one type of species. You know what I mean? Like it's like maybe not a fish can come up and tell you like, hey, yo, dog, like it's like it's all good. So I've been drowning, but I'm alive. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like if humanity in itself, like it's like we're good if
We're
we
really the
start if we
same,
if we start loving ourselves, like it's like and start caring about like ourselves, and you know, people see that too. People see that.
So
and
like
they're
the meditation's part of the
Yeah.
self-love and all
hell
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You did the meditation. I'll tell you right now, meditation for me helps, right? Because, you know, I'll spend like 25 to 30 minutes, right? Like I'll just put on some,
Chilling.
you know, like thinking, giving gratitude, right? Like
I'm
just
trying
like,
to get into that more.
yeah, dude, try
if,
that
if you
shit.
don't, what do you do? What's your process as far as meditation? Because I'm a very like, okay, if I get some time to myself, I'm very much like, I like to play video games. I like to watch shit. I'm a consumer. I've said
Mhm.
this many times.
Mhm.
And I don't really, for myself, I don't really know what meditation is supposed to be or is what's supposed to
Gotcha.
look like. For me, it's like I'm playing video games. Maybe that's my form of meditation. I don't
Mhm.
know. So I'd like to know what your process is as far as like meditation and what you do maybe to get you in that space.
Mhm. So I would say So you're talking about like, that's what you would do when you have
if
free
I have
time,
free time or anything like that, I'll play a video game or I'll watch an anime or because that's what gets me away from like whatever my work is, whatever like my responsibilities as an adult are, like all that shit. So I'll do that. And I mean, it's therapeutic for me. This podcast is fucking therapeutic.
Absolutely.
For me, dude. Like I treat this as my therapy because I'll say shit and I'll express myself like as best I can, but I don't feel that's meditating, or I don't know what I'm supposed to look for when as far as like what a meditation process
when
is.
You're building when you're building your model
my gunpla
mobile units. What
Joe's been getting into models lately.
Because
before he's telling me that's awesome.
Before we were starting, you two were talking about it, and you could see. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I noticed the way he talked about it, his expression, his joy of it, his intensity, what he showed you on his phone, and what you said about when you had the time to do it recently, that your mind was nowhere else but on that project itself. Your mind was pretty much clear except for what was right in front of you. And I really think that's meditation for you in your element.
But just look at that. I've been meditating this whole time.
Yeah. No, and then I mean, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, so for some people, it's meditation it comes in different forms, right? So for me, what meditation means is like clearing your mind, right? Like, so we have a lot of things that get caught up there and we have to clear it, right? So it's just like, if you don't purge out the ideas or the frustration or the concepts, not a lot of us, let's say you're not a drinker, or you're not a smoker, or you're not a person that's physically active, or different things, and there's no way of you releasing that out. So for myself, like when I meditate, I like to just go in, I take some deep breaths, right? And then just start actually like leaving, like letting my shoulders down, like, the things that I don't see throughout the day that I'm doing every day, that create that tension and that tense feeling. That's why people get massages and all that shit, and it fucking feels good because you're just there laying and you're not doing anything, and you're letting them do the work. So in this case, it's you doing that, kind of giving yourself a massage with breathing and listening to your thoughts and kind of working through the things that you want to work on. For myself, I like to really go in and kind of ask for forgiveness and give forgiveness, right? So that I could clear a lot of things. Maybe that week I went through some shit that maybe I said something that maybe didn't feel right, and I want to, forgive myself, right? And it's practice, man. It's like, growing up, I used to go to church every Sunday. I was raised Catholic, so that was like the thing. And as I got older, I started falling away from going to church because I got busy with work, and there was things that were for me more important. And I feel like that's really what showed me as well, how to keep everything kind of in order. There was that time where we would be there for an hour just listening to what someone had to say, right? Like you couldn't even fuck around because your parents would be like, shh, be quiet, like, know? And like now, if I can give myself like 30 minutes to an hour, right, to just sit there quietly and think about what I'm going through and be grateful for where I am and all that, I feel like when I get up, I'm like, damn, hell yeah, like I'm good. Like, right? It's like, because you're using less energy, so you're not draining yourself. You're just in your mind, and your eyes are closed, and you could visualize everything. I was talking to a friend recently, and he was telling me, he's like, yo, like this guy that he was listening to a video or something of him. He's just like, he's sitting in front of some guy, and he's like, and the guy was telling him, he's like, where am I? He's like, I'm right here. He's like, yeah, you're right there. He's like, no. And he points at his head. He's like, I'm up here, he's like, I'm in your head. Like, he's like, when you close your eyes and you think of me, it's like, you're just thinking of me right here. Like, it's just like, it's in your head. Your thoughts are what putting me right here. So it's just like, and that goes back to like saying, like, it's like, it all really does start like with yourself. Like, it's like, who you want to be in front of, and like what you want to create for yourself. And, if you want to get stuff out and you're creating and you're building models, I think that's definitely your form of meditation. I mean, you just wrote a book, dude. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. For the same reason.
Yeah.
For the same reason. I just had to get something out.
Yeah.
Do you feel Keenan? Do you find that when you're building your signs, like that's
building anything?
Oh, really?
Building anything.
Huh.
Yeah. Anything I build.
Hey, actually, we should see if we can get a JSLV. Have you seen the shit that he builds?
I know that the collabo one that you did.
Oh
right?
yeah, you saw
Yeah,
that. He's
that
like
thing was ill.
next level now.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
brought it the other
he's
day.
doing
He
neon
was
lights and
making
shit.
it fit in the back, and
That's right. You helped me out. Didn't you help me
Yeah.
hold it up a bit? Yeah. And I made I didn't finish it, but I made one of your T-shirt. Your
with the
logo.
love
The
Oh,
love.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta see that.
That'd
That'd be cool.
But I
So maybe you
I-
should finish it, Keenan.
I still it's still in my basement. It was like each individual had its own 2x2 foot lettering, so you can put them wherever you want.
Oh,
so it's
damn.
separated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Damn.
separate.
And then if you get a cross collab where you slap
That's
some art
sick.
on top of the wood,
That's tight.
yeah.
I can leave it empty. I usually paint it a solid color anyway, so you could paint over it.
Oh, that'd be
That'd
sick.
be a sick
Yeah, I love that.
collab.
I'll have to
yeah.
get your contact info after the show, like
Yeah,
a phone number, because I think we're just Instagram buddies.
yeah, we
Yeah.
could be real friends.
He said we could be friends.
Yeah.
I've seen you more than once.
We've
Does that
been-
count?
Yeah, yeah,
Does
we've
that
been
count?
friends.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
He's like, hey,
man.
you were my friend from the moment I met you.
Yeah,
But
It
that's
didn't
kind of what it's like
reciprocate.
when you hang out with at least every time I've hung out with you, it's always been like I've known you for a mad minute. Like
Mhm.
you don't put out vibes where all of a sudden somebody has to win you over.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's all love from the
Yeah.
jump.
Yeah,
So you really live true to your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
yeah.
you running with JSLV and Love Crew is like that is the way you live.
Yeah,
You really do just live, and you really love everything.
yeah.
Like,
And it's
that's
crazy.
admirable,
Yeah.
dude. That's super admirable because I'm a piece of shit, you know.
Shut up, man. No, you're not. No, you're not.
You have to get a few drinks in them.
Yeah.
Then I'll be.
Have you ever seen Whiskey Joe? You never met Whiskey Joe, huh?
no.
No, I don't
No,
think
but you know what? I'm gonna tell you something because we'll touch that topic. And it's not about Whiskey Joe, but it is like Whiskey J, right? So, you know, I think that's all part of it too, man. Like there was a time like that I was like drinking like heavily, you know, and I had friends telling me like, hey man, like, you know, like they weren't really telling me to chill. They were just like, like they would just say no, they're not going out no more with me, right?
Ah.
And I started seeing like that pattern, and I was like, damn, like I'm fucking up, you know? And even with that being said, I think it's important to like, you know, if we have those friends and those things are going on, I think it's important to tell a homie, like, it's like, hey, yo, you need to chill, man. Like, hey, I think that, you know, because
Yeah, they should have told you.
yeah, you know, it's important, you know, not just for me, but for anybody, man. Like, you know, alcohol is one thing, but you know, there's other people that
Could be
are
worse,
consuming
yeah.
drugs and things like that. And, you know, it takes you into a place where it gets really dark, you know, and it's harder to find that light in those places, you know,
Absolutely.
because you're thinking a certain way. And like I said, everything's really in your mind, you know, and
Coming
when
from
you start
yourself.
creating those ideas of like, you know, I'm fucking like this, or I suck, and like I don't want to exist anymore, or whatever it is, it could easily go down route for you.
Sure.
And you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
even thinking, any other way. And you're not thinking that's bad. You're not thinking about parents. You're not thinking about your friends. You're just thinking about you. It's very selfish, and it's fucked up because unless you're leaving like 15, 20 grand, right, with a letter and say, I'm out, don't fucking even think about it. I'm not condoning that type of thought, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
at least think about that
people
shit.
The
that you-
repercussions.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's crazy. It's crazy.
Anyone who's listened to this pod knows my stance on suicide. So
Oh,
I'm very, very, very opposed to it.
Yeah.
I feel like you said it's very fucking selfish.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, it's you have to be very strong to commit suicide. Not really. You have to be strong to live.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
basically that's what you're basically saying. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? I quit.
Yeah.
I quit. And I'm incredibly against it. So even though I say I am trash, I definitely
No, yeah, and I'm not
cherish
saying
my
you're
life more than-
yeah, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I think it's an important topic, right? Like
Absolutely,
it's an
dude.
important topic. Like we've all probably felt like we're fucking feel shitty and you know and do crazy shit. I mean, that dude, there was one time I fucking woke up and my boy was just like, "Oh yeah, dog." Like it's like, I'm like, "Where are we?" And he's like, "Oh, we're at your house." I'm like, "Oh shit, did you drive?" Like, and I was like, "That." And then that was one of the times, like, you know, I had to start changing my ways just because that
Giving-
feeling
yeah.
was scary. You know, that feeling I had like when I was
Lost
in that,
time.
yeah, like when I was in the bus and I kind of blacked out and I came out and I was like, damn, what the fuck really happened? Another feeling I had like that was I ended up in the hospital like a couple years back, and I was like, damn, what the fuck happened then, you know? And then the same thing with that, like you black out and you get to a place and you're, you know, at least you're surrounded with your homies, and but I'm like, fuck, like this is crazy, man. Like it's like, what's going on when you're blacking out?
Yeah,
you know,
do
aliens really exist? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's happened to me a couple of times. I can't say I necessarily black out, but yeah.
When was the last time you blacked out, Keenan?
Get pretty shit.
This is a long time ago.
Like San Francisco days?
Yeah, in my college days. But those blackouts were good blackouts. It's nothing like what you had. I had.
No, I'm sure his blackouts were great.
Whoa.
I don't even remember the blackout.
Yeah, they were fun. Yeah.
No, your blackouts were
My
fun.
blackouts were fun. Well, I'm now promoting some bad stuff.
No,
Don't drink till you black out.
God.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's not always a good blackout.
No,
It might be a
no.
bad blackout.
You definitely damage your liver on that. But
My little
the moments,
shot, bro.
the moments I had, yeah.
That's
All right.
crazy.
Yeah, nah, drinking, everything's good, man. Everything's good. So you fucking, you know, even art, man. Like, you know, sometimes I be painting. Sometimes you got to walk away from it for a second. You know, you got to like step back and do that. I'm sure when you're writing your book, you know, a couple times you're just like, fuck, it's not.
I sat on it for a year, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
was just
that.
chilling.
Yeah, it's like that. But you know what? You put it out and
It's
you know,
it's about all the doubts. Like, do I even have anything to contribute? Does it matter? Would people even care? Like, it's funny. I want to encourage people to go after shit more and more these days. Like you said, like you don't know, great, do it anyways. Learn from it, because there's really there's no other way to get some. Failure is absolutely necessary. You know how many spelling errors it turns out were in my book? Even though I paid somebody $700, I was like, fuck, man. Now I know I got to hire someone for the person I hired. No matter how you look at it. And but I got it
double
out.
proof.
Yeah, I got it out. Some people will be like, oh, it's got spelling errors and get upset. I didn't know. I just wanted to keep moving. And I feel like it comes back to that whole idea of just living.
Yeah.
Of just doing. I mean,
you learn that next time you're gonna get two people to prove it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's you can only live in perfection retroactively, not forward. And in fact, moving forward, it's got to be a jagged edge so you can take a step up. You know what I mean? It's got to be that. It's got to be crooked so you can get up and then go back and make it smoother for everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
That's what
dope.
it means to be a leader. You got to make those mistakes. It's got to be that broken piece of the heart and be like, don't worry though, I found the piece that's necessary for it to be smooth. So it's super dope, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse what a leader and a boss is. Everybody wants to be a boss, but nobody wants to take boss responsibilities when it actually has to happen. As opposed to a leader, you're actually leading. You're in the front lines. You're the one that's guiding everyone. So you have to take responsibility for that too. You know, and I feel like even us right here as a collective, like we're some pretty strong people. Like we have great ideas. This was an idea. And we made it come to fruition.
I'm glad it happened. Yeah.
And we have listeners. Like it's crazy. We have listeners, people who listen to us on a weekly basis. Like,
and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the listeners.
Yeah, but it's like just thinking about it. It's like we created something. It's not necessarily tangible. You can't grab it, but you can listen to it, and maybe that's
a good thing too. Because if Keenan could grab one of those listeners,
Keenan's
like, what the?
There's a lot of dudes. I don't know.
Well, hey, it's 2020. We were just talking about that earlier.
Two
right?
blackout boys.
but yeah, I mean, we've created something where we've left something. This is going to exist for as long as the internet exists. You know, like which is forever. And I feel that because of that, we've shown that we're actually living, we're doing something, advancing ourselves. So,
and you know what's crazy is, I know your story wasn't a straight shot up, and I've been freelancing for 5 years now, and there's something to be said about. Everyone reaches a point, and it's funny that I didn't hear you mention any of those because you wanted to keep it a positive thing. But like, what I want to talk about is when you go after something you really care about, there are going to be times when nobody's supporting you, when nobody believes in you, and when you don't have the resources you need, whether it's money or anything, and you feel mostly alone, even when you're hanging out with the homies, and you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to burden people with it, because you just want to be this positive light or whatever. But that's the time that you should rely on the people that you love the most, because people want to be there for you. I'm a terrible example of somebody who, like, I don't reach out ever. And my, my closest people get mad at me for that shit, and with good reason, because I remember plenty of times I didn't know how I was going to eat the next day when I was trying to pursue this freelance shit. But then I'd still go to the collabo thing the next day and like bring the light and bring the energy. But meanwhile, deep down inside, I'm like, fuck, man,
you're hurting.
How am I going to make this work? You know what I mean?
When all he had to do was call Papa Joe's, like, boom, come through. Don't even trip. Say no more.
So like, I don't know. I just as somebody who's also gone through the jagged edge and fucking made it up, and Keenan's doing that very thing right now with his business. And Joe himself, he's out here fucking C-suite now. You know what I mean? With a business. It's like,
honestly, not to, I mean, I'm going to interrupt you, but what you guys are doing is fucking admirable, because you guys are, you guys are creating your future, which is pretty dope, and I admire you guys for it. Clap that one out. Appreciate this. Sorry, not to interrupt.
He's like, not too much for you. Nah, but it even I always say it's part of what I wrote in my book. There's a chapter where, like, you have to find out where you're going to serve. Right. Like I don't look at whether someone's working for someone or working for themselves any different. Anything working for somebody else is smarter, because, like, there's less to worry about. You know what I mean?
I have a lot to worry about.
That's my point. I don't know, because I've never reached that level in that path. But I think you have to choose how you're going to serve. Like, you're either going to serve a boss or serve a customer. Right. But either way, you have to serve somebody, and you have to care about it. And that's the decision you make, because your boss is still serving a customer. Yeah. And so he's constantly worried about that, and where they are, and how they feel, and what their emotions are, and if they're having a good day that day, and all that shit. And it all trickles down. So one way or another, you're playing either role. And it's not, life isn't black and white and binary, but to some degree, I will say that you can rest assured that if you just make that decision and then choose to serve in that direction, it's a good thought to keep in mind as you're doing something. For example, I always say, if you know what the dream is, if you know what the nightmare is, then you know what the dream is. And most people want to buy the dream. They want to get rid of the nightmare, right? People want specific signage, and asking what the problems are that you've had in the past, or has it been too expensive, or does it wear out easily? All that shit. You can start building the dream, right? The same thing with you, with like a brand and clothing and culture, right? Why do people leave? Why do people stop wearing? Why did people stop wearing Rockaware? Why did people stop wearing? You know what I mean? Why do people stop wearing LRG? Was it just because the companies gave up, or was it a culture shift and they weren't able to keep up? You know what I mean? Why do people leave venues, or why do people remember certain things that happen at venues with the staging and things like that? It's all about finding out what it is and serving to that, and creating a bigger, brighter dream for people. Like, no matter what we're doing, all we're doing is dreaming. For sure. All we're doing is dreaming and helping other people dream. At the end of the day, no matter what. And some of us just get paid to do it.
Yeah. Or some of us, are living the dream, because, I mean, I think the nightmare, with the analogy that you have, like, both are essentially, in the real world is when you're sleeping, right? So when you wake up, sometimes you remember a dream. You don't even remember it right when you wake up. Sometimes you wake up from a dream or a nightmare. You're like, oh shit. And then, like, damn, I'll get back to sleep. That shit was good. Right? Or sometimes you wake up, you're doing something, and then you're like, then you're like, oh damn, that was a dream. Oh shit, I just had that dream today, right? Like, so ultimately, I think, going back to the mind, right? Like, your mind has all that. And it's a trip that your mind can think all that already. And your mind is what told you, hey, yo, let's have a podcast today with Jay, or like, let's do this. So I think it goes back to saying, like, one thing, like, on the more physical realm, like, right, you have to wake up from these ideas that, these things exist or don't exist. Because they both exist, the nightmare and the dream. And whether you want to buy the dream, you still have to work for that dream, to pay that dream. But I think when you're living the dream, like it's the best because you're paying yourself forward every day. You're going up that jagged like level that you're saying, and you're doing it because that's the dream for you. It's just like, I feel so good helping someone else get to this level that I might not ever even meet. You know, there's people on the other side of this thing listening, you know, maybe this long, maybe they just hopped in, maybe they're listening in a couple pieces, maybe it's in the shower, they didn't really get to hear one part, right? Some people don't listen to everything because they're not going to put an hour and a half, an hour, 2 hours into something unless they really want to listen to something. So life is like that. There's treasures in everything, you know?
Got to stick with it.
Yeah, you got to stick with it, and you got to wait to the end of the book. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I was reading this book. It's called the
Push Past the Norm.
Yeah,
no, that's my book. No. Hey, plug.
Something Warrior. I forget the name. Peaceful Warrior.
Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman.
Right?
Yep.
So I read that book, and the way I even got that book was this guy was getting rid of all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm going to the
That's a great book,
yeah,
bro.
he gave me the stuff, and I was like, hey, yo, can I grab it? It's good. He said, yeah, man, you can have it. You read it. I read it. And in that book, the kid asked the
Socrates,
and he goes, man, just get, so what happens at the end? Right? So he tells him, the guy's saying, Socrates is saying the story, and he goes, well, what happens at the end? You know? And then it pretty much says, like, you know, like, in order to understand, you have to listen to the whole story, right?
Yep.
So I think for me, one of the things from not just that book and what you just said as well, is like, you have to get to the end of your life, however long your life is, to really understand life. Like right now, you understand so much, but if right now you're okay and content with life, that's a pretty good place to be in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though, sometimes some of these ideas and these dreams and these goals that we haven't reached yet, man, that's the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fuel that should keep your life going, right? Whether you have kids or projects with work, or, you know, another book you want to write,
right.
And I think that also is what brings that like positivity back in that kind of like
Labor
energy
of
back
love,
into wanting. Yeah. And you know, you were talking about sometimes you don't have you know, you don't ask for help, maybe. You know, I'm like that too. I'll burn myself out because I'm just like, who's I gonna post this, or I'm not gonna say this, or maybe reach out to my friends. And recently someone told me, it's just like, yo, man, like you really need to like delegate your work. You have a lot of work.
I have the same problem,
you know? And I'm like, and I hear that. And then sometimes, you know, I'll reach out and I start finding that when I reach out, when I think of maybe a person that can help, and then I reach out and that person says, yeah, I'm like, you know what? The person was right. It kind of, it's like my meditation too. It's like,
yeah,
it takes one thing off my load, you know?
And I want to get all the loads off, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you do it at night, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's just some of the loads. Yeah, but you want to
I'm
get
getting
them
one off right now. Wait, what? No,
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand that that, like I said, we all come from the same cloth, right?
Yeah,
we're all kind of like this like human being, like DNA,
same
species,
thing.
eyes, heart, you know, passion.
The journey is the same,
emotion.
but it's different.
Yeah, you know, it's like if you grow up in a different part, your culture's different. You might be like, hell no, you're marrying that person. Or, you know, if you're in one place, you're like, nope, you're going to school here. Like, but ultimately it's like, if you grow up in that culture, that's the culture. You're going to, you know, you adapt to that culture. So when you're okay with adapting, that's, I think, the real truth. It's just like, you know, just adapt and get out. You know,
are you willing to transform?
Yeah. Because sometimes I will say culture can become controlling. Culture is good, but it could become controlling, right? I read the book on the 4 Agreements, right? And that was one that opened me up to, and I read it while I was in El Salvador, and my friend gave it to me. It was in Spanish. And
it's a good book, bro.
It's an amazing book. And, you know, she gave it to me at the right time. And because I was going through a lot of ideas that I didn't think were really what I should be thinking or whatever, and then I read the book.
It helped you let go of a lot of anger.
And it was like, nah, fool, like you're good. Like only because it was like that, and you know,
started my journey too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I still haven't finished another book that a friend gave me. It's like the Principles of Abundant Living, the Tao
I know,
book. And that one, it's been interesting because it's followed me for quite a long time. I probably had it for like 7 years now, and I'm like maybe like a quarter away.
I'm gonna get to it.
From done. Yeah. But I stopped reading for a while, and I think everything's good to kind of like hop in, hop out,
Yeah, there's no rules.
Yeah, and books are good, man. Books are good to remind you that, like, honestly, you're the book.
Yep.
What's up with your page?
Hey.
Yeah.
I always say you can't take something from a book without first bringing something to it. So if somebody tried to read and they were like, what is this shit? It's because they didn't bring a question to the book to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than the right answer to the wrong question. Right. And so even if you just read a book to get a general idea that you wanted to think about, okay, well, I know what the book's about, but what are you asking it? Because you're right. You are the book. At the end of the day, you're gonna come to that whole book can just lead you to the one question that you had to ask yourself the whole fucking time. Why are you so mad? Why are you so angry?
Yeah.
Or what are you gonna do about it? Right? And that could be the catalyst for all the change for the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Shit.
I mean, you could always just ask, what would Jesus do?
Oh, right. Because Jesus Christ is probably tired of hearing it.
Oh, man.
We talked about that before the episode, right?
He was probably over it, man.
We got look at all philosophers here.
Look at all the stuff that homie the pop locker. He's like, Jesus Christ. Like it's like I tell you, man, Jesus Christ is wherever he's at, and he's like, man, y'all doing this all wrong, man.
He probably put us on mute.
Yeah. He's like,
Jesus Christ blocked us.
Let them figure it out.
He reports us all to spam.
Oh, man. One of the good morals. I shared this with my dad and my mom the other day. I don't know how they took it, but I was like, because they have a Jesus Christ cross, and he's there, like. Where, and I was like,
in full effect at home.
Yeah, full effect. And it's like most Latino parents have something like that.
It's
and
a
I go,
Catholic household.
Yeah, and I told her, I was like, you know what? I get Jesus. I was like, he went through a lot, and when you look at that image, I could see how it should be a reminder for you to see everything that you're hurting like all the time. You put, you sacrifice your feet, you sacrifice your hands, and the thorn crown that they put on his head. It's like you're constantly overthinking stuff and you stress yourself out. So sometimes I really think that it's more about the visual and the message that's behind the image, and that's why I really enjoy art and pushing the love shapes and things like that, because I think that when we put a lot of that back in, it's all good stuff. It's all love that we're putting back in. And ultimately that's what Jesus Christ and the whole squad, the 12 homies and, the gang and all them. I mean, we're like, like every crew is like,
there's always that one dude that's going to rat you out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or not want to listen to you or whatever. And, so there's just, and him carrying the cross, through that whole,
the faith of everybody.
Through that whole trip, and getting to that point where you have to carry your own, like you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
It shows, yeah, you're killing yourself and you're showing people like in front, if that really went down, right? Like if that was facts, that went down,
story really went down,
that was like, damn, like he was showing you like you're carrying your own death. You're carrying yourself to killing yourself. Right. And, and then with the whole aspect of him, doing his thing and the people crucifying him and him, rising 3 days later, it's just another form of rebirth, and I mean, there's just so much information in anything that you read, whether it's the Bible or, Taoist stuff or, any book that you really read, and like you said, I think it's really important to come with a question that you're asking yourself to find an answer, because every book has an answer to your question in particular, because just like music, man, music's all's got a story, and it all starts with love, man. Like, you know, it's just like you either got hurt by love, or you either want to show love, or, you know, that's how love for me was started, you know. It was, you know, well, through art, through
Any
being,
form of
through
art,
love, through love in general, you know, that feeling of love, of everything going on in my life in 2005, like, was just like, damn, like, it's love, like, it's, you know, and I think that's what embodies everything. So if, you know, you want to say that you get these, that like, oh, it's a sign from this, or it transcended from here, or it's a message from above. Like, nah, man, like, you know, I could go down that path too if somebody has some mushrooms and some acid, and we could just have that journey up in the Joshua tree in the forest somewhere, you know, it's all gravy. But we don't, you know, you have to really understand that there's not always that type of medicinal stuff that is at everyone's
it's not the
reach.
answer. It's not
you know?
always
No, it's
either.
not, you know, because that alone takes practice, you know. There's a people that smoke on the reg, and they come up with lyrics or do art or whatever, and they need to smoke on the reg. You just have to take mushrooms one day and be like, oh man, I saw everything, you know, or go do something. And
it's all a practice. It's all an
it's
art.
all a practice, and you got to come with that same mindset. You got to be, you know, in your head, you got to have the question, you got to be clear, and you have to fight with your own demons. Because when you go in there, man, if you do consume something, whether it's alcohol, you know, which that's why it's even called the spirit, you know, it's because it takes over. After a while, it takes over, and it's just like, it's not even you no more, you know. You have to say sorry to the homies and shit.
It's Whiskey
and it's
Joe.
Like, yeah, it's Whiskey Joe. That's why it's not Joe no more. It's like,
Evil
you know,
Ryu.
although that doesn't excuse you,
doesn't,
you know,
not.
but I'm saying, like, that's the reality of it. Like, you know, it's like, then you're letting out everything, and then you need the alcohol to let it out, where it's like, you know, sometimes we don't have that outlet, or we don't have friends to like let us talk to them, you know. And yeah, it's important, man. It's important.
Shit.
And with that, we actually reached the portion of the show called the soapbox talk. This is the one moment where essentially you get to tell the world whatever you want. You can promote whatever you want. And usually we let the guests go first.
Absolutely.
And you can go as long as you want. It's just your moment to have the megaphone. After that, pass it over to Keenan, then myself, and Joe usually closes it out.
Yeah.
So with that, Jason, I want to pass it over to you.
Oh, man. Okay. I feel like I've been talking a lot already.
You can promote anything now. Yeah.
Well, I will promote love, because that's what I believe in. And yeah, first and foremost, you know, I think thank you for spending time with us, listening, tuning in. If you weren't there, we wouldn't be here. That's super important. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening or your morning, and just know that, yeah, like I was saying, there is an event that I'm doing next Saturday, the 29th, and it is a Love Crew 15-year anniversary. It's going to be at a brewery in Inglewood called Three Weavers. The information is all on our Instagram at Love Crew. And yeah, you can head there and check out some of the art that we create around the world. And also, that is it. And then I think another thing that I'm going to not necessarily promote, but just talk about, because I'm heading there pretty soon, is Peru. I'll be in Peru. So if anybody is in Peru or knows any people in Peru to maybe put me in contact with, I'll be creating art in a village in the Amazonian forest. And that will be for like 10 or 15 families and their homes. That's with a friend. His name is Selva. He's putting that together. And it's called Amazon Arte. So I'll be posting mainly on that on my personal Instagram. And that's at Just Jayson. That's at JUSJAYSON. And yeah, if you want to check out some of my more personal art, there's that. But yeah, ultimately, man, thank you. Peace and love always. And yeah, respect.
Dope.
It's good. Shout out to TSG and the Tigers over in K-Town. I was there yesterday, and they super supportive, super energetic. It's my first time going to what was the event called? It's called
it was a general meeting and a new member sign up.
New member sign up. So it was cool. The vibe was great. So And thanks for all of you listening too, by the way. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
Jayson.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Quickly to touch on Joe's question about finding different avenues of meditation. The example I have of myself when you asked me that question was when we came over and we cleaned up your balcony and we built the screens that you wanted on your balcony. It explains why I do a lot of stuff for free. Because people ask me, why are you building all these heavy stuff that thousands of dollars could be given to you for payment? But because it's therapeutic. Mm-hmm. So when Philly, you called me over to fix the wall to put your machine in there, that was therapeutic. That's why I did it. I drove, from one city to another just to cut some holes in a wall and fix that. And then when we hung the collabo sign in Andrew's house, that I drove all the way to the valley for that, just to hang a sign that I already pre-built. But the process of doing something with my hands, hanging it, putting it on the wall, cool thing that you were there for that was also therapeutic. And so there are avenues that people may not know or see, but I guess it's just the moment of finding what was it that not just makes you happy, but goes beyond, that you're willing to go above and beyond to do and work on. So I'm glad Joe brought it up. But I really think that's Joe's thing, is when he's working on his Gundam models. And so for mine, it's just pretty much making anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my soapbox.
Thanks.
Super dope. Again, thank you, Jay. It was cool. We I think we had talked about it, or maybe mentioned it at the last hangout, that we were trying to make this happen. So it was super cool that it finally did. And yeah, it's definitely a good time to be alive. And when you finally do the very thing that you're afraid of, I mean, I think I may have said this in another soapbox, but really confronting those fears, when you have something that you're doubtful about, going after it anyways, and living with the consequence of it, good or bad, and bad being relative, just like good being relative. I mean, it's all, like Jayson was saying, it's all part of your mind. It's all, I mean, if you catch feelings, remember those feelings are coming from you, whether they're good or bad. And yeah, I'm so grateful that people have been listening in. I still get responses from people. The homie Ao, he's always plugging up the show. We went to the podcast movement convention, and everybody there was showing us love. People really pay attention. And sometimes I feel like it makes them want to go out and fuck shit up and go out there and take on the world too, and you know what? You have my permission to make mistakes. If you've been looking for I don't know, like if you needed permission to go after something, you have my permission. At least for me, I'm going to give you the pass. Go make a mistake, fuck it up, get it wrong. Don't worry about getting it right. Just get it wrong on purpose until eventually you can't get it wrong. Right now, this is the moment. If you were waiting for anybody to tell you to go do it, do it. That's what I want to go with right there. It's about to be the end of February. We're kicking into the first 3 months of the year, and you got to kick it off strong. So right now, that's where I want to leave you at.
Hey, oh, short and sweet. Look at him. So I'm gonna close this out real quick. Jay, thanks for coming out, man. Really appreciate it. We had been having a conversation about him coming on for a long time, and we never kind of found the time because he was either out or we were doing something or we had scheduling conflicts. So the fact that we finally were like, all right, fuck it, we're really gonna do this, and then you coming out and joining us, and I mean, it was a great conversation, and you just putting out all the positive energy that you've been putting out all of this episode. I'm sure people are, I think it's going to impact people. I think it's really going to hit some people the right way. I want to thank you, and I actually want to congratulate you for being the first person not to talk shit to Keenan as a guest, because almost every single guest that we've had on this pod turns on Keenan at one point or another. So the fact that you were the first one not to do that is amazing. I love it. I bet Keenan didn't notice it, but I was paying
We got close. We were talking about getting your number. We're not really friends, brother. All right.
No, but yeah. So awesome. Real quick, TSG is back. 3252 is back. LAFC is gonna have their home opener on Sunday. So the season 3 of LAFC is upon us. I want to thank everyone who came out last night to the new member sign up. We had a strong turnout, and hopefully a lot of you stick around. And we're really looking forward to this new season. We have a lot of ideas, and we have a lot of aspirations. So I'm really excited for that. Guys, if you do get a chance to get out to the Love Crew 15-year anniversary, super dope 3 Weavers next week. That's February 29th, 2020. There are a lot of things happening throughout. Hey, real quick, Anamanaguchi is in town.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever heard of Anamanaguchi. They're like a 8-bit band. So they they use like retro style like Nintendo sounds. They're gonna be in town on Friday, so I'm trying to go.
The 29th, the same as his.
No,
that's
Friday.
28.
That's the 28th.
28.
Friday,
Okay.
Friday.
So he's buying us all tickets. Is what he's saying.
They're not that expensive.
They're not really.
What was it?
They're
like
like
I didn't even
30
hear that
bucks.
part.
Yeah, they're like 30 bucks.
Yeah, let's go and buy us all tickets.
same place.
Yeah, no, they're at the Fonda. So yeah,
they're getting
it's
a
a
little
great
bit bigger.
venue. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that because I'm sure a lot of people know I love Anamanaguchi. I love their work. I've followed them since 2010 or something, 2010, 2011. And when they first started, they were just literally like had an EP. They weren't really doing a lot. Then they got picked up, did the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, and it's just grown. So I'm super excited for them. I'm gonna go check them out, and if you guys want to check it out too, it's at the Fonda on Friday. I'm over here promoting different people's shit. Minorities Report released a new song. It's featuring some of the new artists. So if you get a chance, go listen to that. It's on all streaming platforms. It's called American Dream. They've also, we've also released other tracks. Supervillain, Bumpin'. There's a lot of new material coming out from Minorities Report. So go check that out. Philly has a book out. If you haven't checked it out yet, go get it. He's going to be releasing the audiobook soon in English and Spanish. Go check that out. It's on Kindle. If you don't want to buy the actual hard copy, you can get it on Kindle or in any of that shit. I'm just promoting all my people, all my friends. AOMO, the whole AMP camp. They got something coming out in 3 months. It's a top secret, so even I don't know about it, but I'm super excited about it. They keep posting it. So that's AMP, Up Music. Shout out to A, shout out to Lex, shout out to E Singer. Shit, man. I just want to give love to everybody because this energy is fucking dope. So yeah, man, I'm super excited about everything right now. I'm loving this whole vibe, and I really appreciate you guys for listening. Again, we couldn't do this without you, and we wouldn't continue to do this if we didn't know that people weren't still listening. So I'm so glad that people are still listening. I love you all. This has been episode 64 of the None of Our Business Pod. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're moving, yeah, moving, yeah. I'm dipping, I'm grooving, I'm loosen, yeah. I'm loosen up all these bad bras, and they're making me feel so
Did you just bust a nut at the end of this?
I did a little bit.
Another load.
Yeah. Eat your woman out.
Suck your man's dick.
Hug your best friend.
Read my book.